A clash of major champions. Yes, both teams have players that have lifted a major trophy before, and now we find ourselves in Katowice. It's our second game of our first day of the Legends stage. G2 versus NaVi. So much to be discussed, just a best of one as these two duke it out. Of course, G2 already no stranger to Katowice or the Counter-Strike, a week-long tour of the Challenger stage, and by the skin of their teeth come through to the next stage of competition up against NaVi, whose performance in London got them this far already. First time we're going to be seeing from them in a while, and yet, with so many big names, I find myself asking both Sponge and Pimp, why is there doubt? Why are expectations not quite where they should be coming into a game of this magnitude?
Well, G2 have been proving their worth ever since the roster change with their online performances, and then during the Challenger stage, right? They had some big victories, and most of that came with a map like Dust 2. But the thing is, we're not completely sold. You need to have more than just one map in your pool. On the NaVi side of things, the reason there's so much doubt, the reason that we can't, get behind them as a team who could win the major is because there's so many rumors right now that Zeus and Edward are done, that this team are constantly bickering, constantly fighting, that nothing is really cohesive and working. Sure, you have Simple, sure you have Electronic, but is it enough? That's a question mark we need to get answered.
Yeah, and another question I'm going to have to throw to both of you is how much are you reading into the tales of unrest within NaVi? Zeus has been talking how he wants this to be his last year of Counter-Strike, how he's tired of keeping the team together. These are not words of a team that are going to be lifting a major trophy. How much do you think is a little bit of a poker face from Zeus? How much is he playing the game?
I don't think there's much poker face, to be honest. I think Zeus is just telling it the way it is, and I think that's a big problem for NaVi. Obviously, there's, as you said, players in that team that can take over a game and win the game by themselves. No matter what happens, you have Simple, you have Electronic, but having a team that currently is not working together, as you were saying, is a big problem. NaVi, right now, to me, is a mess, and it's a team I have zero to next to none expectations towards. If they can win a few games here, sure, go ahead, but this is going to be one of those where can they get one win and they avoid,
it's burning my ears.
No, can they get one win
words
and avoid going down to the European minor next time? That'll be fine for them.
Simple, Flamey, Electronic. This is a roster that should have never be attached to that sentence. However, there is definitely doubt, and they go up against a G2 that many consider to be picking up pace just a little bit. You can see them on your screen.
Yeah, and they had to do that by beating Fnatic and Tyloo, right, in best of threes. Now, Fnatic, we've already stated the case at the top of the show about they were the #1 seed in that Challenger stage, but they've flopped on out, winning over Tyloo, who were proving themselves in that tournament too. We didn't know what to expect. How much stock can we put in? This is why I said, we have bad data or tainted information, because right now it hasn't all been flushed out. NaVi, for everybody who wasn't aware, they lost to North at the Ice Challenge over there in London not that long ago, and that's where the doubts cropped up, because going into a tournament like that, I expected them to be clicking, winning it, taking it easily.
Yeah. What I find super interesting is the fact that we have this seeding system, and the teams have seeded themselves, and NaVi is still seeded #3. So either that tells us that people are still practicing against NaVi, and NaVi are still a strong team, or nobody have been practicing against NaVi because NaVi is not practicing right now because the team is effectively dead, and nobody knows where to put them.
Whoa,
I'm just saying. In that regard, there's something to be said about that. I think it's interesting to see them being ranked #3, and I think G2 are quite happy for that.
I'm not as doom and gloom as Jacob around this NaVi roster, and the fact that they get Inferno is probably one of the better maps for them. That's that crossfire over towards... Yeah, that's where Zeus and Edward actually contribute, right? This is one of the maps where all 5 pieces of the puzzle can. The problem with a map like this, it's harder for a Simple, it's harder for an Electronic to take over the game. You're being, at least in my opinion, very doom and gloom about this NaVi roster. This is one of the scenarios. You're giving one side of the coin, the other is, we've seen this time and time again, a team comes in with no expectations, they think they're dead, and they just win the tournament, or they come out and put in a blistering performance. NaVi are capable of that.
I'll never forget Dubai, where NIP truly have, other than an official announcement, disbanded as a roster. They proceed to get to the grand finals versus Virtus.pro. There is sometimes that relief of being sent finally down to this kind of acceptance level that you just start to frag.
Between what happened with NIP back then and what's happening with NaVi these days.
We'll find out.
Rumors circulating with people not being friends, not getting along, not wanting to practice. Whereas with the NIP, the case were that they were not feeling that they could progress as a team anymore. It was not like the guys on the team were fighting or saying bad stuff about each other in public. To me, this NaVi situation is just a little bit off. There was even rumors circulating that Simple is not following Zeus anymore on Instagram. They wouldn't be willing to practice with each other, all that kind of stuff. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Sounds like high school.
Can you imagine?
But it sounds like high school.
Right? Can you imagine they're gaming and Simple gets a frag and says, "Now you follow me on look at my story."
You don't want to go into a major tournament having those sort of workings within your team, right? So yes, you're right. You have Simple, you have Electronic. There is a case to be made that maybe NaVi just comes out and flushes everyone apart. But setting expectations real, I don't expect it to happen. I think Navi's in a rough spot right now.
The amount of times, though, I feel like for the last year, it was, how has Flamey been wanting to leave this team, then comes back and he drops 30? These individuals, they defy logic in that sense, where they can just be like, yeah, they hate each other. They absolutely hate each other's guts, but Simple's got 40 frags and they're doing it again. We'll find out. We really will. And that is the plan in just a few moments' time. I am intrigued. Jacob, you've made your prediction clear, but Chad, with all of that said, you are sugarcoating one side of the story. Who actually takes this one? Are you starting to favor G2?
For me, no, it's definitely NaVi, right? And I think it's just the fact that these guys have a much more experienced roster, unless they're going to come in here and completely throw away their major hopes and chances, which I don't think anybody would do. Sure, I can agree on the fact that there is conflict, but I still think NaVi here are going to be able to put up a decent fight, in this tournament. So going up against G2, who are slowly proving their worth and stock, I have to have NaVi as my favorite.
And that's a good thing, because G2 is not a good team right now. G2 is getting better and better. We saw them progress during the first stage of the major, but for NaVi, it's a great matchup to come into, despite all the problems they have right now. I also do think that NaVi have a great chance of winning this game, but that's simply down to the fact that G2 is not a team to be reckoned with right now.
Yeah, and I mean, let's remind ourselves, Jax and Lucky, they had quite a quiet challenger stage up until that last best of 3. That was kind of where we first saw the young blood demonstrate the potential that clearly secured them a spot in that roster. So I imagine a win condition for G2, if we were outlining them, would be the youngsters continuing to maintain that pace.
That and having Shox play the way he did in the major stage. Shox was very impactful. Very proactive. He was taking a lot of initiative for the team. He's also the in-game leader, so can he be on that level again and activate player like Lucky and Jax on his side? That's going to be interesting for me to see if that's going to be able to be done by G2. Just one more thing to note on the NaVi thing. I think that's the only team that I've heard of who has not bootcamped leading into this major. So just another testament to the fact that they're not really feeling as a team right now.
Sure. I put a lot of stock in Simple because, in my opinion, he is the best player in the world, right? And Electronic as well. As I call Simple the god, and Electronic is a demigod of Counter-Strike, right? So those two as a duo, if they can get going, if they can get facilitated with AK drops on the T side, if they can just make it a brawl, they can take over games. But I think NaVi are in a good position to be starting on the CT side, right? They get started on the CT side of Inferno. If everybody can feel relatively comfortable, Alex, this should be a NaVi victory. Okay,
our analysts a little split here, and we're going to be finding out exactly who of them is going to have a smirk on their face in the post-match. But first, the adventure that is the Counter-Strike game. Best of 1, a spot in the next major on the line. You have to win 1. G2 and NaVi start their battle. We're going to head over to the casters. Once again, it's Vince and Moses to guide you through.
Please welcome G2 Esports. Since the last major, they had trouble making it out of groups, but G2 will fight hard for their comeback here in Katowice. And their opponents. They are born to win. Here are NaVi. Led by major winner Zeus and powered by the world's best player Simple, the heroes of CIS Counter-Strike are here to win their first major title.
The only thing for certain in this matchup is that there are going to be some fireworks. No one necessarily knows the kind of level that's going to be coming out from these teams. NaVi has looked like they're rough. There's a lot of rumors swirling around this team. G2, their challenger stage was ugly at the start. They finished very, very well, obviously, even making a little bit of a believer out of myself. But with Simple in the server, with Electronic in the server, with Shox and Kenny S on the other side, things are going to get crazy.
Yeah, both teams the epitome of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde approach, where you never know what side you're going to get. At the end of the day, all the drama, all the soap opera aside, it's a major, and you better believe that NaVi are going to have some big performances in this. But it's going to, again, it's a cliche, but it's just true. Simple Electronic are the heart. They are the beating heart of NaVi, and these guys need to show up because, as you say, G2 finished that first challenger stage pretty damn good.
Yeah.
They started horrifically. I had them going out at one point at 0-3. I thought they'd have no chance, and yet here we are.
Yeah, those first 2 days in the challenger stage were not inspiring from G2, but towards the end of it, you could see a few things in those best of threes they were able to win to kind of move on to the legend stage, where you were like, okay, now I'm seeing why the G2 guys are feeling confident. Now I can see the work that they put in and the results of some of that. So that was very cool. You said Simple and Electronic are what, the heartbeat of NaVi? I mean, they're everything. They're the brain, the heartbeat, the muscle, the skeleton. They're the entire NaVi body, essentially, at this point. Where, I mean, yeah, those guys, you know that if they deliver, they can win these games almost in a 2-on-5. It feels at times, but that's a lot to ask at this stage where teams are going to be at the top of their performance.
Just got a question. I'm really looking at plays here on G2 side. Obviously, you're looking at Katowice and Shox. That goes without saying. But they need some support. Now, Jackson Lucky, much to my surprise, towards the end when we started to get into Dust 2, when we got in that final best of 3, those are the guys that were really standing tall and delivering. Lucky with the AWP, actually, was a bit of a revelation to me.
Yeah, they looked much better at the end of the week, and I think part of that is just getting a little bit comfortable. And finally, I think there's no, it's not a coincidence that's when you looked at G2 and we're like, all right, this G2 playing, you can see going through. This G2 playing, you can see being a danger in the legend stage. So I think they will be a legend. I think they will be a danger to NaVi here, and I think there's a great chance that G2 can actually snatch this one away, despite the fact that, you know, NaVi is kind of in that weird limbo period, that limping form. I think you'd still look at it as an upset.
Sure. I think you have them down as G2 potentially winning this, right?
I do.
I've gone for NaVi, but honestly, when I went for that, for me, it's like a coin flip.
I put G2, and Simple immediately responded with he just goes, okay. So I was like, oh, great.
You've woken the beast.
Yeah, I've pissed off Simple, so here we go. You never know what you're going to find out.
I feel like he's that kind of player, though, that takes that sort of confrontation and uses it as fuel.
Oh, yeah. He loves it. He thrives in that kind of stuff. He's just a human highlight reel. And I think, you know, the desk brought up this point as well with the fact that, you know, NaVi have these rumors of breaking apart, of no longer being a team after this major. There is that very dangerous where that almost like brings you together as a team, like the one last hurrah. You're going to go out in a blaze of glory, right? And you never know if everyone knows this team is going to split up, and obviously we don't as the public. The players might know that themselves. They might not split up, but the players themselves might just feel so much freedom and so much less pressure knowing that this is not going to be a long-term thing.
Absolutely. I mean, when your back's against the wall, some people crumble and some people come out swinging. So this could be NaVi's chance. This could be where they just turn into this beast mode squad. But let's find out. We're going to be jumping into Inferno in just a few moments' time. NaVi on the CT side, G2 coming through on the T side, and both squads have a bit of utility at their disposal.
Yes, they do. Shox picking up 2 flashes and a smoke. Katowice, smoke, and a Molotov. Interesting, the 2-star players. I don't think you'd pick them as your utility guys on this G2 team, but either way, Zeus has the kit and a flashbang for NaVi, and quickly up mid, pressure down Banana from NaVi as well. They're going to be a fast flank, but Electronic has to hold on inside the pit, forced into the open. He needs to find this kill. He needs to do it quickly. Into flames, there's the trade. Nicely done from Body and G2 getting into the bomb site.
Good news, though, that Electronic did get a kill because he was burning alive in amongst all of that. So a 1-for-1 trade. However, post-plant going to be on the cards, and Shox has done so much damage. Simple's on 1 HP. Definitely not the player from NaVi's perspective you'd want in this position. And with the rotation somewhat stalling out, G2 are looking good. Flamey's going to have to go in. Lucky takes his head clean off his shoulders, putting even more pressure on the rest of NaVi. As it stands, Edward in a confrontation, going to get the better of Shox, and now suddenly the player advantage going firmly in NaVi's hands. They're actually going to get this retake.
What a round from Edward. That is so well done. Remembering as well, you could see he remembered the call. Shox was in boiler, turns around to find that kill. Shox has the safety net flank. Really, really well played from NaVi, losing that bomb set initially. And G2, that one hurts a little bit. They do get the plant. The extra $800 will help them in the next round. They could even drop an AK over if they wanted to here, and they are going to go for a second round buy. Aggressive play to start this out from G2. We saw this in the previous match as well, an early buy. Edward with those 3 kills, going to be able to get plenty of utility and the AUG. He's playing over towards the B bomb site. 3 players for NaVi heading there to slow down any kind of a fast play.
They have a lot more firepower, though, than Ents did. It was Ents that went for that force, but I think Sergey had the AK-47. This time, 3 Galils, Deagle, Mac-10. It is at the cost of quite a few grenades, but they still have 3 smokes to play with here, Moses. They can execute on either side with this utility. Need to make sure they don't get picked off first, though. Katowice in a dangerous fight against Simple. Going to decide to back away.
Yeah, Simple wanted that fight. He actually stepped into it even after hearing the bullets coming out from the Galil. That's gonna call over the buy as well for his team. Flamey gonna put up that smoke, and even though the Molotov flushes a player who would be at logs out, there's nothing G2 could do to punish it, even if anyone had been there. Utility will be an issue for both of these teams, but certainly for G2. Only 3 smokes left. No flashbangs, no Molotovs, no nades. Body, oh, Edward gets caught with a nade in his hand, and he's the only one that aggressive in mid, all on his lonesome. We saw Simple pushed up on the other side early in the round, but he had given up the angle. Flamey, he's gonna be the next one to take action. He's the point man over at the B bomb site. There's the peak. Jax walks right into it, but Shocks with the deagle finishes him off.
This is the other side of that whole debate, the soap opera that is NaVi. On the other side, the first thing that will go will be communication, and you could see it clearly there. Edward in the middle of nowhere, another pick onto Flamey, and suddenly G2 in a 5-on-3 in their favor. They've only got 28 seconds left, though, and a player in the pit could be all that's required for NaVi, and it's that man Electronic. He's going to open up with 2, making 3 kills in quick succession, holding down the fort by himself, running out of ammunition, doesn't get it onto Lucky, so at least they should be able to get the bomb planted after all, but this is way closer than G2 should have been in.
Yeah, they've got to be hurt. That is a great triple kill. It gives him a chance. Zeus going to be the point man on the retake, and you have Simple behind him still. But again, much like Edward, Zeus is caught with a nade in his hand. They must 2v1 this. Kenny is too low to take a heads-up fight. He's got to drag Simple into the crossfire. He's being patient, trying to lure Kenny S out of position. He does it successfully. Simple, he's not going to pull off the clutch. Lucky's able to hold on and pit, and G2 respond immediately.
It goes to show the caliber of player that Simple is. When he's in 1v2s, you expect him to clutch. And when he doesn't, you're almost disappointed.
When he successfully pulled Kenny S out, I thought he had it. I thought that next fight would be his. Great job by G2, even able to survive that 3-man spray down from pit. Electronic doing everything he can. But you're right. I mean, the start of this round was such a disaster for NaVi, and you can see just like one less mistake. And that could have easily been a NaVi conversion after the pistol. Gonna get a quick tech pause. We also got to see the display of these new rotating stages to decrease the downtime. The stage, the player areas just spin in a circle. We've had moving desks before in Counter-Strike. They're fun. Have you ever ridden a desk? A moving desk?
I can't say I have, Moses. That's on the bucket list.
It's like a carnival ride.
I can imagine it feeling like that. I wonder what it's like for the players coming out like that as well.
Yeah.
See smiles on their faces.
Right. Well, the first team's walked out, and then NaVi and G2 are just chilling.
Yeah.
Just gonna hang out.
So as Moses said, we do have a tech issue. Hopefully it's going to be remedied shortly. G2, though, on the back foot to a degree. Although they did just win that last round. But I think it's the manner in which they won it at the end that's going to be a bit of a concern for me. That being said, NaVi, 3 players got caught in the middle of nowhere for no apparent reason.
And that's what worries, I think, most people about NaVi. That's like everyone's primary kind of issue to look out for early in their run here at IEM Katowice is, are they gonna, is it gonna have to just be individual efforts? Because we all know Simple is amazing, and we've seen him win maps, we've seen him win series, essentially all on his own, but to ask him to do that through an entire major cycle is almost way too much. This time it was Electronic with an individual heroic performance to get 3 kills basically in a 1-on-5 at that A bomb site. That's not going to be successful for them every single time. That can't be their recipe. So if you're Edward, you can't get caught out like that. You know, if you're over towards that B bomb site and you're peering down towards car, I mean, all of the opening kills that G2 got was just no chance of being traded for NaVi, no chance of them being able to recover, and it's far away from the bomb sites as well. So I guess essentially just warning signs. The red flags are popping up for the NaVi early on in this map.
Very early, yeah, just into round 3. They're going to be force buying. Few players on $1,400 as a result of their previous loss. So already an integral round for G2, a chance to stamp their authority early on in Inferno. And who else but Simple peeking down mid with a Desert Eagle. G2 not interested just yet. There is a player moving back down again. Wasn't too far away from connecting the dots. But systematically, G2 will be taking control over app side, which is going to be very hard for NaVi to hold on to. They've only got 2 smokes. Here comes a smoke from G2 to the backside of Library. The idea isolating Arch from the rest of the site, isolating Edward effectively at this stage.
This is fine for G2. I think they really wanted to go in on that hit, but the smoke and Hall stopped them. But that's fine because there's limited utility for NaVi. They've used all but 1 smoke Edward's the only one with one left, and he's on wrap side. There's the peek from Zeus. He gets blind, 1 for 1. That's not the worst thing in the world. Edward gonna peek the angle, gets the dink, can't find the finish up. Great kills from Body. Simple's gotta get aggressive to get out of the crossfire. Oh, 2 stunning headshots. Another heroic performance. But Simple did it. He turned the round in NaVi's favor. And a cheeky grin on his face.
And that, if you're new to Counter-Strike, if this is the first page you're watching, is why Simple is hyped up so much. He can turn rounds in the blink of an eye. Unbelievable deagle work. And right now, the tables will turn. Now it's G2's opportunity to feel the financial downturn. They're into pistols. They're into a force buy of their own.
That hurts so much for G2. With just the deagle. Simple, the best player of 2018, hands down. He's had a year that it's going to take a long time for anyone to repeat. Unless it's him again. Here we go. Force buy from G2. They're the ones on the pistol, but they got plenty of utility as well. This time, close up in halls. As the counter smoke come out. NaVi's content to let them have this position. They might regret that. Electronic about to get firebombed out. Here comes a flashbang. He puts that out. Now he peeks out. Not blind whatsoever.
It is still going to mess with his vision, though, because he's stuck in that smoke, has found a gap through the wall, and is able to claim 1 kill. It's going well for NaVi. They've repelled this push for the time being. And barring some miracle play from Body, this round should be done. Zeus is low on HP, though, and an Orc is now switched hands. Body does have Kevlar and 88 health. Maybe I've sold him a little bit short here. This could get sketchy for G2. In a few moments to make that NaVi, the Simple's gone down to the hands of Body. And keep in mind that Zeus is still stuck on the site with such low HP. Trajectory of that Molotov will allow Body to know where Zeus is, but the flashbang and spray on point. NaVi dodge more bullets.
Really nice job by Electronic staying alive and working his way around that broken wall. It puts the Molotov out, and actually even pushing out of the broken wall, he keeps that AUG from falling in the hands of Body for just a little bit longer, so it gives a chance for NaVi to kind of take a breath and establish themselves. 3-1 for NaVi, and G2 just cannot buy in this round.
A hold from Zeus. Stacked up there on ADR. Of course, we are only into round 5, so not to get too carried away just yet. Early grenades tossed down. Only 1 HP lost from Lucky, but there is Simple. Supreme confidence in his own ability, as you'd expect. And against just pistols and P250s, at the end of the day, there's not much G2 can do about this.
He's trying to stat pad here in this round. Overextending a little bit, but when it's Simple, you let it go. He gets shut down by Jax. Good job with the Glock. You won't see that every day. Electronic gonna turn the corner, and he's almost taken out as well. But NaVi are handling this. 4 players still alive, so not a whole lot of damage done by G2. They would like at least 1 more kill. Shucks could find it with the P250. Important to say as well, as much as we're talking about Simple as the best player in the world, if you are new to Counter-Strike, have only watched it in the past couple of years, Shox and Kenny S on the G2 side have taken turns at various parts throughout the history of also being considered the best player in the world, and they can do magnificent things as well. And that's another thing to keep your eye out for NaVi is if Simple is overextending like that, if it happens in the gun runs, if you have the individuals of NaVi trying to do too much, that can be punished as well.
Yeah, that freeing feeling that we were talking about, if they know that their time is pretty narrow, can also backfire. You can get too overconfident, you can extend way too much, and G2 will capitalize on that. I do feel that Simple probably will rein it in a little bit more now that there's rifles in play, but look at this play right now. Edward is on A by himself, a 4-player stack on B early on. Now Electronic starts to move away, and the perfect counteractive play. G2 are pushing aggressively. NaVi are completely caught out of position, but they're going to start to slow down. It looks like NaVi will get away with that early stack.
That's a really cool counter reaction from G2 to get up mid very, very fast. But as you said, the Molotov and lane slowed them down in a big way. They didn't go up rap side. They're coming in late. Zeus listening in the smoke. Simple spamming. Electronic's going to get one with the AUG. That's the bomb down as well. Shox is exposed, and Lucky is there to shut down Zeus. Just 1 kill. A 3-on-4. But can they actually break into the bomb site? This is going to have to be a coordinated pinch.
Oh, Electronics will be disappointed he didn't get the better of Lucky there. Did knock him down to 2, and the bomb's gone out once again. Jax and Kenny S remain. Kenny's gonna thread the eye of the needle, lands the headshot onto Edward, But Simple still has that bomb right ahead of him. Gonna be a nightmare for G2 to contend with this, but they flashed him out, and there's the headshot from Jax. This round isn't done just yet. It's coming down to the bitter end. Just 2 players remain, 1 on each side, and there's Kenny with the headshot. G2 somehow, someway get that round.
What a grinding round. You're exactly right. I thought the bomb dropping on Rap side would just be a nightmare for G2 to go get it. Props to Jax. First, he takes out Simple and Library, but he stands back and he just, gives his life so that Kenny can get away and into the bomb site and at least get a decent plant out of it. Best position possible for that 1 versus 1. It was a long way for them to traverse. Lucky being able to provide an entry into the bomb site as well. NaVi, 4-man stack towards B. You have to wonder if that's something they read, if that was going to be, if that's a plan, if they think G2 is going to have some kind of heavy banana presence early on. Either way, that time, it's a cool idea. It just gives up a lot of control in mid, as you can see. Still, G2 had to fight every step of the way. 4-2. Another timeout here. High fives all around for the G2 side of things.
I think relief more than anything else, because they knew they're up against it in that round. NaVi, watching back on that, will be pretty gutted they didn't convert. The bomb was out in a horrible spot pretty much from the beginning of the round. But credit to G2, they came out swinging. And the 2 players you'd expect to see at the top for ADR, Electronic and Simple, both around 120 each.
Well, Shox is at 16. Now, it won't stay there for too long. We saw in the previous map with Renegades, Shox is in-game leading, so we saw Ozza, who was in-game leading for Renegades, had a really tough time in the terrorist half as well, while he was also kind of micromanaging the team, trying to read his opponents. But you won't expect Shox to stay quiet for long. This play, they're going to run in with these smokes and flashes, and that's perfect. Zeus is going to be forced away early. Flamey's giving up his position. He's got no cover behind this pillar. They've got him pinned down, and he's trying to buy time. At a certain point, he's got to commit. But he knew it was a losing effort, and NaVi, they're not even going to go for this. All 3 players at the A bomb site are giving it up already. They're letting Zeus do what he can, just letting him die, essentially. This will be a 3rd round for G2. NaVi not even wanting to rotate over. That hit was way too fast, way too convincing. And they have no money. They wanted to keep these Augs up in their hands.
Simple, of course, 2 kills on the retreat. Gonna make it that much more taxing for G2, and their economy's not in great shape either. They can't afford to lose too many more weapons out of this.
Simple's gonna be one of those players where when you put the AUG in his hands, it's really gonna be tough to watch in a way.
Especially as he's a guy that can rifle and AWP, and the AUG is like this weird middle ground, right? So if anything, just placed it, this is like the Simple meta.
Yep, it's going to be pretty disgusting. 4-3, that lead is narrowed to just 1 round. AWP is going to be out for Kenny S. Yeah, he's loving it. A couple of exit frags is going to limit the economy growth for G2, but not in any kind of a big way, not in any kind of worrisome fashion. With those AUGs saved by NaVi on the defense, they do buy up around them. Electronic on the 5-7, Zeus on the UMP once again, and Flamey with the FAMAS. G2 has started the rounds on this T side out very, very fast, getting aggressive. We've seen it towards mid. We saw a contact play towards B in the previous round. Now all of a sudden opening kills in Hall. That's a spam from Body, who jumped up in towards the window, and even Kenny S was able to get a leg shot onto Zeus, jumping back and forth towards B.
Yeah, this is a terrible start for NaVi. Just after they're trying to somehow remedy and salvage this half, it started so well for them. And credit to G2, they're keeping NaVi on their tiptoes. These hyper-aggressive rounds now, NaVi have to respect this. They're going to end up expending a lot more grenades to stop the counteractive pushes.
And what this done is eventually when G2, you imagine they're not going to do it every single round, that they will slow down the pace at some point, but it'll keep NaVi really, really nervous about the fast plays and maybe expend just a little bit extra utility early on to make things easier in the later stages of the rounds going forward. And this could be a disaster for the Frenchman. NaVi taking a gamble with limited utility, limited weaponry, a 4-man stack towards this B bomb site, and G2 has rotated right back into it.
Oh, no one's going to check sandbags. Flamey could be in for a hat-trick of kills, but it's just 1. Body's been wrecked in the process. Here comes Simple. Almost caught between 2 mines. Still does a chunk of damage to Kenny. And at this stage, they may not realize there's more players over here on B. Step up, Edward. Bomb has been dropped. What a call by NaVi. The gamble pays off.
You have to admire that call, Because even if G2 is able to hit the A bomb site, they just save the weapons, and essentially they have another buy round. They have all the weapons that they had previously bought, except they can get utility behind it as well, but it works out perfectly.
And it makes sense too, because they only had 2 smokes left. So it's a case like, can we realistically stall this push anyway? Even if we do play 2-2 sort of setup.
Especially with the FAMAS, the UMP as well, the weapons that can't really fight. Zeus was legged. And you could see he was the last one in. They actually shifted him out to CT spawn to watch the flank, to watch for any kind of a B split. So his HP wasn't even a factor in that main fight. Great round tactically from NaVi. And it's G2 who are forced onto the pistols in this round. The 1 Deagle on Jax. 3 CZs.
Kenny dipping into his life savings though, just $150 left. Everyone else can buy in the next round.
That might be a blessing in disguise, Vince, because we know the op can be so tough on the T side. We know Kenny S is one of the best oppers in the world and has been for many years, but you know, if you can't afford one, it's not the worst thing in the world. We saw him hit some nice AK shots previously.
Simple allowing the first player to cross, looking for the second. Doesn't get that, but they actually push into him through the Molotov. And Simple with the USP will not let them pass. He does get dropped to 7 HP, but it's all on Jax. They're not going to be able to make the most of this. At least you think not. And Edward, long range, going to get the better of Jax. Just what the doctor ordered for NaVi, a flawless round.
Yeah, Simple was loving the fact that he had a perfect fight body. He just lets him run through the flames, lets him sit there and take some extra damage. Looking much better for NaVi now, and they're even going to switch into a double op setup. We saw it on Simple. Flamey's going to have one as well. 3 AUGs in between it. And another timeout.
So what do you think the play for D2 at this stage? I mean, they've gone for all these super aggressive plays.
Yeah.
Is this where they start to slow it down a bit? Or do they just go with what's been working?
I think they're going to have to, because while they were doing those fast plays, NaVi had yet to really kind of establish the safety net of their money. Now they have Molotovs, they have smokes, they have HE grenades. So you're going to start taking a lot of damage if you're aggressive in the choke points early on. The double op setup is going to be very difficult, and if you're too fast and not putting flashbangs in the right place, those ops are going to chew you apart. This round, though, this might be fast. 2 MAC-10s, a half buy for G2. They haven't fully invested. Simple wants to get aggressive around the corner, misses that initial shot, but it's okay. He's got plenty of information. Nade chunks down Jax as well. Oh, this could be tough, though. Waterfall out the halls, perhaps, in the cards. The MAC-10s, the mobility, and one of the ops is at this A bomb site as well.
They do have Electronic there, though, but he's moved forward. He's no longer in the pit. He's going to try and take the fight. This could be brutal timing for him, though. Edward's going to hold on just about with 2 kills, 2 very impactful frags. And now that Electronic's made a move through the smoke, he's going to pounce with 2, looking for a third, can't get it done. A lot of damage has been inflicted, and it's a 1-on-1. Flamey going to have to make the long traversal move from B through on the A side. Kenny's not been able to get the bomb planted just yet, though. Still plenty of time. Gonna smoke off towards the library side. And at this stage, from a B's perspective, he has no idea. Has Flamey rotated up mid? Has he gone through library side? Neither player really knows where the other is at this stage, but now the bomb has been faked. Flamey's not gonna fall for it. Kenny just gonna plant safe. This does mean he's gonna have a claustrophobic hold, though, once Flamey starts to make a move in. He just has an opener. Sidearm at his disposal, and Kenny S with the superior firepower is going to light up Flamey, and G2 win their first round in a while.
3 kills for Kenny in that round. That's a huge performance. You could see Flamey wanted desperately to have any weapon but the AWP. So unwieldy as you enter into that bomb site, have to clear so many corners. Exactly why he's using the pistol on the entrance. That's 2 clutches now for Kenny S. 2 1-on-1s that he's had.
Goes to show how close and tight this game has been. Even with 2 clutches, G2 still trailed by 2 rounds. But that is a phenomenal effort by him. Has brought the economy of NaVi to its knees. If they concede this round, they will be broke.
Yes, I mean, part of that also is the double op setup that they kind of prioritize some pre-spam through the smoke, and Flamey's gonna find him just around the edge. Lucky, massive damage that he's dealt, but couldn't find the completion of the frag. It's Shocks now to lead the way. Flamey and Zeus perhaps feeling a little bit nervous. They did have to deal with a pretty decisive contact play at this bomb site earlier. A lot of time for Kenny to peek into the B bomb site with that AWP, but he only had one shot before the smoke is going to delay things.
Posturing just outside, but Electronic a different angle again. MP9 in hand, and that smoke is just enough to force G2 back. They're not going to try their hand this time around.
Electronic is one of the best players we have in the game of Counter-Strike at guarding pit as well, and you saw him in the previous round using his, mobility, really positioning himself well in a hectic hit, was able to catch a bunch of players off guard, disappearing into the balcony smoke. It is going to be towards this B bomb site though. Flamey with his low HP is boosted up. Unfortunately, it's going to be tough. Zeus is going to get caught on the other side of the smoke. If they do end up putting one on this choke point, he's going to have to transition into the bomb site. Doesn't want two players to be caught outside of the site.
There's a slight gap in that smoke as well. G2 now going to start to push their authority down. No one checks the boost, but they do. Last tick of that flashbang. If Flamey was unblind, that would have been a whole different ball game. Simple, back to the wall, going to come out swinging with the first, looking to secure the bomb site. 8 seconds to go. There's not going to be enough time for Kenny to get on the site. Can do a bit of damage on his way out, but this round is going the way of NaVi. They're going to lead 7-4.
That looked like it was going to be a beautiful hit from G2. I mean, the first good thing that happens for NaVi is that they are able to cheat Simple over just in the right moment. So him and Zeus actually get into the bomb site to hold on while Flamey's boosted up. The second very weird thing is G2 calls a strategy where they have two players wrapping through ruins and construction, and then they throw a Molotov behind the coffin. So the players that are actually rotating in that fashion, Simple feels a little bit comfortable. They have to swing behind that Molotov. I think it did find a little bit of safety in it, but Simple was probably really curious knowing there were players wrapping from G2, and then they throw a Molotov right where they want to wrap into. It really limited how those players could take that fight. And all that with just 10 seconds on the clock, so a little bit of mistake on the utility from G2.
G2 know that NaVi, though, still struggling financially. They are there for the taking. This round could be another fulcrum point on this first half. G2 going to go force in. It's not going to be a great buy, but plenty of utility, plenty of pistols. And they do have an AK on Lucky and an AWP in the hands of Kenny S. This round could be everything for this half.
Yeah, neither of these teams have wanted to sit around out. NaVi has made those gamble stack decisions so they can keep as many guns in play as possible, as many buys on the CT side as possible. G2 as well buying up into a lot of risky situations, relying on Kenny S with the AWP perhaps. Pretty typical banana take, but what's not typical about it is that G2 has 5 players here. NaVi was reading the situation. Simple, Zeus, and Flamey all stick around to defend. In G2 feel the need to readjust.
The problem is that Inferno is one of the most taxing maps for the AWPer, so relying on Kenny S to deliver some entries or just lock it down with the AWP is going to be an even more stressful situation for him. You have to feel that Body's probably going to have to do work with this AK-47 too. If they can get weapons across from NaVi, though, everybody has armor, so this could spiral out of control for NaVi. They've given up map control through mid, but again, with players like Electronic and Pit, that's only half the battle. G2 still have their work cut out for them. Boosting up Kenny to peek into Pit, but there's Edward from the side, able to get 2, nearly a third onto Jax, and that could be the moment. Zeus gonna make sure that Banana's no longer an issue. And G2 are forced into a bit of a horrible position here, making a move through the arch side. Getting across to the side at this stage is an absolute nightmare, and Simple is gonna punish Lucky. It's all on Jax. Has no idea where the remainders of NaVi are, one of which is going to be Flamey making a move through library side, 15 seconds, and in the back of Jack's mind, he just wants to save this AWP, but he's going to get denied. NaVi, hold on.
Simple picks up that AWP right at the end as well. 8-4 in the favor of NaVi. This is great from Edward, just straight up fights, and part of the reason why he's able to do that, we mentioned G2 in kind of a force buy limbo in that previous round, not wanting to give the round up, just didn't have the utility, didn't have the Molotov to force him out and watch for that kind of a peak. 13 kills for Simple, 13 kills for Edward. It's Kenny S leading the way for G2 at 10. And a mid push coming in from NaVi. Simple providing great cover for Electronic, who's got a position at bench.
Again, reading the lack of armory. An arsenal for G2, Electronic whips out of the USB. And it's going to be the deadly duo once again. enforcing their will on GT, not allowing them a chance to have anything to talk about in this round, just bulldozing them.
It'll be a 9th round for NaVi. Looking to grab complete control of this match. Zeus is going to find that frag on body at the end. We'll have a chance to see what G2 has decided to pull out for one of these last 2 rounds. They've really struggled to get momentum going. They have 4 rounds and a half, but they haven't really been able to string a whole lot together. They just had that one little pocket in the middle of this half where they won 2 in a row. Since then, it's been 5 of the last 6 going in the favor of NaVi. G2 really unable to find a winning recipe throughout this half. Katowice with the AWP again. AKs, they have decent utility. Here we go. Shock's gonna come right through this smoke, and nobody's blind. He does find 1 kill, but Lucky has taken so much damage trying to follow up. Not exactly a net gain for the French side.
Especially when you consider how little utility they have. It's not as if NaVi are spent on all their grenades. They got plenty left. They can stall this out for a good 30, 40 seconds at least. Lucky being on 6 HP and with the smoke in his hands, they may feel pressured to get rid of this as soon as possible. Now I'm going to start to make inroads over on the A side of the map, courtesy of Jax, but... or body, pardon me. Going to be smoking off arches while the rest of G2 look to make a move. The whole purpose of this is to try and draw away one of the CTs before they do hit B. I think Zeus was entertaining the idea of it, but now he has locked it back down on B again alongside Flamey.
So tough though. Kenny's gonna have to be pretty aggressive with this AWP. Lucky with very low health cannot afford to be the initial contact, cannot afford to go in with the opening group. Here we go. Flamey's boosted up. It took him a while to clear this out. It's gonna get pre-fired this time. Zeus still waiting. Just wants to stay alive. Doesn't even want to fight for it. Even he's getting spammed though. And somehow he dodges all of it.
Well, goes in just afterwards before the rest of his team really had a chance to get even close.
Electronic did throw a pop flash for him. Obviously did not work out the way it was intended. And from here, NaVi gonna keep these weapons alive. The op in simple. Electronic with an AUG. They'll be able to drop weapons if needed, but I don't think it will. Edward, Zeus, and Flamey, the players that have fallen, have plenty of money. But G2 gonna get up to 5, and that feels much, much better.
I think NaVi also looking to try and constrict the economy of G2. They're both in exit points. Now, I was about to say Simple's got banana control, but Kenny S does come out with the AWP shot. Because their economy isn't too good here either, G2. If Simple could have maybe done a bit of damage on the way out, maybe a bit of a lack of a buy coming through into the last round of the half, but...
any little bit, right? If you take a Molotov, a smoke, a flashbang away, it all counts. G2, though, all things considered, despite some of the struggles they've had in this half, I mean, they've put together a pretty solid performance. And a chance to get 6 rounds, that would be beautiful. Yeah, this is a banger of a tune.
Building up the tension for the last round of the half. It could be such an important one at that.
Not tension, it's building up a dance party.
Lining up the potential nade, and here comes Jax. A similar position to where Shox ran into the round prior. It didn't work out for him, but the flashes and nades are going to be on point. Jax not able to double up with a second. Zeus is going to repel that, moves into the smoke, but he was always going to be out in position in that stage. Decides to back away into the arms of Shox. This is such a strange round from NaVi. Super aggressive round from G2. Is going to yield a 3-on-2 advantage, and now all the pressure on Electronic. He's about to get forced by remaining G2 players.
Yeah, but he slowed him down. Smoke in lane is going to make them a little bit cautious. There's a massive gap in that, though. What kind of an angle can Electronic find? Simple, he calls Simple back to the B bomb site, and they think maybe Electronic thinks that smoke that he threw in lane has done just enough to force G2 away, but it hasn't. They've just slowed their take, but it's going to be a free bomb site. Shox has the bomb in pit. Oh, there's an appearance in library. Kenny S down so low, but now he's got the angle, so no more peeking for Electronic. He's got to wait for Simple to come in. The bomb is going to go down any moment. It's a 2-on-3 in the last round. They must go for it.
2 players very low. There is a kit and a Molotov. This in the realms of possibility. Kenny is going to try and shut it down before it can gather any kind of momentum or steam. but decides better of his angle. Shock will go for the peak. He had a slow start, but he's warming up just when it counts, leaving Simple 1-on-3 with the AK, and Kenny S will greet him. 9-6. Decent little comeback towards the end from G2.
A phenomenal comeback, and they've looked good, trying a lot of things on their T side. They get 6 rounds to the 9 of NaVi, and we'll see how this one concludes after the break.
2 kills, 2 very impactful frags, another electronics.
NaVi up 9-6 going into the second half, and it wasn't just an individual effort. They've got 4 players within just 3 frags of each other, all across the team. It was solid, it was impressive, but G2 as well. A different G2 than we saw start the challenger stage. They clawed just enough rounds out of that T side, out of their offensive half, to make this a tough one down the stretch.
This is where it gets dangerous though for G2. If they can't get a grasp of their economy early on, NaVi could just run away with this. And they'd be wise to take a bit of a leaf out of the Renegades and Ents book. It was 5-10 and Renegades bounced back from that deficit. This pistol, it could be the leapfrog that NaVi need to move towards the finish line.
When you think of that half as well, I mean, that could have started out so much better for G2. That could have been a great T-side. That could have been them going into this half with a lead. The pistol round was in their favor, and they lost it to a great play from Edward. They won the second round, and the third round as well. They got dropped by phenomenal individual effort from Simple, the 2 1-digs that he had at the A bomb site. So actually, G2 could have had a much, much better half. They look good on the offensive side of Inferno, and now we're just going to have to see them set up a very nice, as you said, a really good performance on this defensive side. I think they've done a really nice job, all things considered, of limiting the impact of individual heroics from guys like Simple, guys like Electronic. Flamey had a really tough first half, but still finding themselves in a pretty narrow deficit, just 3 rounds.
we've had the big moment plays from like Electronic, from Pit. Simple's had that double deagle, highlight reel worthy couple of shots, but G2 haven't been completely out of this. You know, Kenny's had some pretty nice AWPing of his own on the T side. So CT side, you think this is really going to be his half.
This is where Kenny S, I mean, the CT side of Inferno, there have been some pretty legendary AWPers over the years who have worked wonders on the CT side of Inferno, and one of them has been Kenny. He is so dangerous on this because it is deceptively like a very, like AWPers can have so much freedom. While they have such a tough side on the T side where they're really, really restricted, the CT side is pretty much everywhere they go. They can be effective with the AWP at finding opening kills, you know, trading kills, limiting the amount of success that the terrorists can have upon hitting that part of the map. You can put him at the P bomb site, A halls, he can get aggressive in halls, he can peek down mid. Can be very, very deadly, and if NaVi can't get a hold of him, if they can't limit the amount of rounds he plays with the AWP, this could be really, really tough half for them.
I mean, we saw Simple do it. He walked down mid with the AWP a couple of rounds into second mid, very, very aggressively. As you say, he can be so versatile. They had a double AWP set up for a while, Simple and Flamey.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've already seen that G2 in the Challenger stage, pretty much everyone on their team can actually pick up the secondary AWP. I've seen Jax do it, Lucky's done it. Of course, we know Shox can pick up the AWP as well. So there is some versatility in this G2 lineup.
I would like to see them keep the AWP out of Shox's hands.
I agree. He's much better with rifle.
I'd like to see him with a rifle.
Yeah.
But as well, I mean, he kind of picked it up down the end. Remember, he had a tough start to this game. He was limited on his impacts. But, you know, towards the end, those last 2 rounds of their T side, he found some great kills down the stretch. He's sitting at 6 frags, so is Lucky. Jax is at 7. It's Kenny S and Body at 12 and 11 who lead the way for G2. You'd expect all of those frag counts to rise on this half of the map.
Sure. I mean, at one stage he was 3 and 10, so
yeah.
He's already started to make a move in the right direction. But as you say, now on the CT side, don't have to play as aggressively, can get the crossfires established. This is where you're looking for G2 to really up their game. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen, second half of this second best of 1 between NaVi and G2 is getting live. NaVi on the T side, and again, G2 getting a whole bunch of utility. Jax with a nade to boot. And here's the player that's on B at the moment, so maybe just stalling this off for a little while until he gets some information. If they're going to try and wrap on B, that's where you expect the grenade to be tossed in and potentially do a bunch of damage.
Yeah, nade just to soften him up if he notices him at a choke point. Simple takes a bit of damage. He was dropped over a P250. He can be pretty deadly from long range, so G2 has to be careful. Flamey in the halls, all alone. There's Jax with a good shot, but Flamey's found the kill onto Body as he clears things out. Lucky is pretty committed in this position. If Flamey had swung, that would have been really dangerous. And NaVi, with that pick towards the A bomb site, are going to rotate over. But G2 wants to find some information. A peek down mid, completely blind, can't convert the kill. And now from Boiler, he's going to get pounced upon. You can only take that peek for so long before NaVi is going to react, and it looks like G2 on the back foot in their pistol.
You probably need Kenny to be more aggressive watching Boiler if you're going to peek down mid. You know, it's pretty stalled, a bit stagnant in its approach. And G2 are going to wrap around Shox towards the B side, but he's effectively the sweeper role at this stage, just going back and forward through Speedway. NaVi haven't fully committed yet to either side. They haven't really shown their hand, even though there's 25 seconds left.
And I don't like the setup from G2. They need to do what NaVi did and just gamble and stack a bomb site and hope it's the correct one, because your defense is spread way too thin. Kenny against 5 needs some immediate headshots, and he gets the damage, but not the frag. And Shox has got to wrap around mid, and this pistol round is all but over, especially now when that goosh comes out. Shox forced away. Jax, don't even go for it. Shox wants to save the kit. Jax is going to go down.
Unfortunate nade as well, bounced on the wrong side of the box. It would have claimed Simple's life if it was just a little bit higher.
You could see G2 just never had any idea what was coming. Obviously, that first kill that Flamey has in the halls is huge. But from there, the flashbang in towards mid to peek down. When that player goes down, G2 has to play so passive because you cannot afford to just bleed any more players away. If what G2 could have done there, that might have been a little bit different. They had Shox kind of playing rotator between both of the bomb sites. You either put him at the A bomb site and have him just kind of stack it, or you put him over towards B and have those players just get aggressive and walk down B. So you either have a very quick flank at A, or they find the contact and you at least have 2 players there to see maybe if they can pull something off.
Well, G2 are going to have to put that pistol to the back of their minds, because in the here and now they're in a force buy. It's not completely all guns blazing in terms of finances. They still have a bit in the reserve. They do have enough pistols and nades to make this interesting if Na'Vi overstep the mark. And it's going to be Electronic going in first with his MAC-10, looking for information, trying to scout out the place. Shock's going to be smoked out of position, but Lucky will be pretty much untouched at the back of the site. So he's going to throw in a smoke to just stall the push a little while longer. Electronic hasn't read the memo, though. He's potentially looking for a boost up.
There's a little bit of gap in that smoke on that side. When he jumps up, he might be able to see over it, or at least be quicker coming through. Na'Vi have at least accomplished making these defenders nervous. They've forced out some utility. There's Electronic to back away even farther. But Navi's happy with that. They are so completely fine. And Kenny S on G2 side rotating towards B, saying they know that 2 smokes have been used at this bomb site. They'll probably want to hit when it fades. He does have a smoke of his own, and actually, that can be the spanner in the works.
Need some magic from Shox, and he is the first to deliver. Headshots delivered left and right. Shox finally going to go down alongside Kenny S, and that was their win condition. That was their chance, the crossfire with the Desert Eagles. As it stands now, Jax and Body smoked out, going to be moving from 2 very separate angles, and Jax has been found by Flamey, leaving Body last man standing. For how much longer? It is up to Na'Vi to decide, and the decision has been made by Simple. 11-6 now to Na'Vi.
That's actually a really nice try from G2. They did everything right in that scenario. The first 2 kills as well, but G2 still able to just crack open the door. 11-6, and with investment in that round, G2 cannot have any here. They do buy up some pistols. They have a nade stack, all 5 players with an HE. You imagine they'd toss that into a choke point, maybe down mid, maybe down banana. See if you can soften anyone up, maybe get lucky with a couple kills. Shox, Lucky, and Kenny S throw their nades. No kills, decent damage onto Electronic, down to 44.
And the worrying sign for a lot of other teams right now is that it's not necessarily just the Simple show. I mean, Edward's been pulling his weight. He's been landing some pretty nice frags. He's up on 17 kills as well. 8 deaths, 104 ADR, a player that's going to certainly turn a few heads. I mean, if you go back long enough, he was actually quite a beast. But it's been a while since that were the case.
Yes, it has been, unfortunately. Either way, Navi's found an open bomb site at B. Electronics all the way through. Zeus is clearing out the corners. So this is going to be a 12th round for Na'Vi, and G2, no more time to waste. They have to get started immediately.
Simple, of course, stalling the bomb plant to allow his teammates to get closer to A side. They don't want to let anyone survive. They've got SMGs in play in the hands of Electronic. May as well try and farm some money, and he's found some prey as he sprays from behind. Body and Jax have been slumped alongside any hope for G2. Na'Vi will take a 12-6 lead. It's just a matter of how many more kills can they farm, really.
Yeah, they're just trying to get bonus money. You can see Electronic half HP passes the SMG over to Zeus. Flamey's found one with the AK-47. They don't have to do this, but they really, really want the bonus money. I don't even think they got any extra. It was kills with the AK-47s. Zeus got one with the nade, so just Flamey was able to benefit from that. Or excuse me, Electronic, I think, with the double kill, yep. 12-6. The AWP is out in Kenny S's hands. And they would love to have him start this out with the AWP. Just get on a heater and just ride that to the end. Ride that into a comeback. They must have him deliver immediately. Electronic with the SG-553.
They're going to go for the peek down banana, but instantly Lucky's been found. Electronic's going to claim. Kenny S does bounce back with one of his own. And Shox is somewhat isolated now, going to have to rely on his teammate. No one checks sandbags, and Body's able to double up with 2 of his own. Bit of a mistake from Na'Vi, could cost him dearly. Shox nearly burns to a crisp, but still somehow alive on 7 HP before Electronic will find him out. SG in play, going to get 2. And it is the duo that you'd want in this situation, but pretty tagged up in the process.
I think they're going to back away, at least for the moment, or maybe just sit there and stay quiet. Electronic in that corner was able to hear Kenny S rotating through CT spawn. They know that there's a second player at this B bomb site. Here the plan for Na'Vi, it looks like don't make any noise. Simple's gonna go for the peek, of course he is. Forces Kenny S away, but the AWP is a new weapon at this B bomb site. Nothing they didn't necessarily know. G2 has pushed Jax out in towards alt mid, so we can watch for a fallback, but he's not close enough to be picked off. That would be the nightmare. What can NaVi do around this smoke? This is exactly where you want Kenny S. Gotta be mindful. You can see him considering the fact that they can jump through this. A boost over the top of the smoke. There's the kill from Body, saves Kenny's life, and the follow-up kill with the AWP. 7 for G2.
Actually, really cool of Kenny to relocate there. If he was on Coffins, that boost would have killed him. But he moved to the right-hand side, gave him more vision, and also completely wrecked that boost entirely. Plus, he knew his teammate had it covered. Really little cool turn of events for G2. And finally, on their CT half, they're going to strike gold.
That's wildly aggressive from NaVi to start that round out as well. I think that was one of those rounds where NaVi just says, let's test the waters. Let's see how exactly they want to hold Banana. Let's see how they're going to hold it early on. They had 3 players there. They saw that. They saw where the utility was used. So just a little bit of information gathering for later on in this half.
Flashbang is going to completely stop any scouting ability for G2. They're going to back away. They know how vitally important this is. Nade's going to be exchanged. I think Shox may have just caught a glimpse of Zeus, but the flashbang going to do enough to force him back. There's no avenging frag, but Electronic will get the upper hand onto Lucky. Puts a bullet between his eyes. This puts way more pressure on B than G2 are hoping for this early on in the round.
He's got no nades as well. Shox has to take a heads-up fight, and it's not going to work. Kenny rotating over now, but again, the AWP stuck behind the smoke. It's so difficult, and Body and Jax aren't even rotating over. They haven't moved yet. 2 players in this B bomb site. What can Kenny S find? He would love to get one. They're being so quiet. Now he's going to hear the footsteps. Now he's going to hear the plant go down. You imagine he's going to spam to try and stop it. It's not going to work. That's when Simple peaks. That's when he pounces. And the round is over.
I feel like the call had already came in to save. It's just that Kenny S was on a one-man wrecking crew mission.
And ill-advised, perhaps, because look at the money on the right side of your screen.
Sure.
No one's going to be able to drop. And I think if you're G2, you almost have to buy in the next round. Such a disparity in the score. It's going to be 7-13.
So we were really talking about one way G2 get back into this is for Kenny S to start firing on all cylinders with the AWP. Losing the AWP there, I mean, that is absolutely brutal. And Kenny's had maybe 1 or 2 kills with the AWP, but nothing special. So this is quickly getting out of control now for G2. They're at least going to hold on to the AWP, courtesy of Body getting a kill, but this is where it really catches up with them.
Vince, it's already out of control for G2. The question is, can they rein it back in? This is going to be a tough call for them to make. Body and Lucky sitting right around $1,800. There's not a whole lot they can invest. They do have, Body still has the AUG. Dropping what weapons they can, so G2 has scraped together a buy. It's not ideal. 2 SMGs and a FAMAS on Kenny, only 2 kits across the board. Pretty good utility though, all things considered. And NaVi seems to really be loving the fact that G2 wants to play an aggressive defense at Car. They found Shox this time. Previously, they had found Lucky.
Certainly feels telegraphed at this stage, trying to get banana control early on. NaVi will acquire another kill, acquire a bunch of real estate. There is a stack on the side. Firing squad has been established. But with the pick, it would stand to reason that NaVi would expect a rotation from at least one of the A players. So now they're starting to make a move on A. It would ultimately be a 2-on-4 if they decide to pull the trigger and go for this. This is going to be a very difficult hold if NaVi do press forward with the A hit.
Remember, in a similar situation in the first half, NaVi chose to stack a bomb site with all 4 players at the B site, and they were correct. Jax goes hunting for information. A great find on towards Flamey. At least thinning the herd, but there's so much of this map is available to NaVi. Zeus and Electronic have just walked in towards CT Arch. No one sees it. Body's gonna walk right into Electronic, but he's prepared. He's ready for the fight, still loses it. And now, the remaining G2 defenders all on their lonesome, 1 at each bomb site. Jack's gonna get taken down. That's the A bomb site, free to take for NaVi. It's gonna be a 14th and no money for G2.
And ironically, even though Jack's got a kill and it was a really solid scouting mission, by doing that, it almost tells NaVi there's probably 2 players on A. You don't typically go for a play like that if you have 3 players on A. You feel confident, you feel compelled to just stay in position.
Certainly they didn't have enough eyes to spread across that bomb site. No one watching Rap side. Getting in towards CT spawn for free is just NaVi salivating. Taking a risk and just walking in. They don't even necessarily need to hunt Lucky, but why not? You have a lot of cash. Or not a lot, but a good amount although these two players are solo, but NaVi doesn't care. Electronic gonna get dropped. They now know where he is. Simple, gonna be the last one to challenge. Zeus has too low of health to fight either. They know next round is gonna be limited for G2 on what they can bring into it, so why not try and take everything away right at the end?
Try and pincer him. This smoke is pretty huge for Lucky though. Allows him to lock off one of the angles, but of course Simple is going to find him and frag him. No save weapons means that G2 have pretty much nothing.
Everything went wrong for the French side that round. 7-14, and the most money you have is on Lucky. It's 2,500, and yeah, that face kind of says it all. Nothing to be too cheerful about. I think one last time out for the G2 side as they talk over how they can recover if they want to invest here. I think if you're G2, you're too far behind to let NaVi get to 15. You really have to kind of grind some rounds away before they get there, but I don't think there's necessarily a wrong call for them to make here.
We had a lot of questions coming into this game, how are NaVi going to show up? Are they living on borrowed time? I would say this performance has been pretty compelling so far, Jason. I mean, it is obviously only one map, but I've been pretty impressed.
Yes, it's been much better than I expected as well.
Sure.
I think similar to G2, the CT side hasn't looked great, but I thought the T side, they put together a pretty good effort, and if a couple different rounds change, I think they have a much better first half to work on moving forward, but either way, haven't really been able to slow down this NaVi onslaught. Here we go, push down mid, try and catch NaVi off guard, no nades to signal it's coming, and Edward loves that. He loves it very, very much. 4 quick kills.
Money in the bank, ADR. Everything you could ask for. I mean, he was already doing well up until that point, so you can't even say, yeah, he got 4 kills gifted to him. He's breathing down Simple's neck at this stage, and they're going to have 8 map points. This would put them at 1-0, of course. We're just starting off the group stage of the Legends.
It would also secure the fact that they will be at least in the challenger stage of the major in Berlin, which will be hosted by StarLadder. Announcement came out just a couple days back.
In September, I believe.
Yes.
So you have that to look forward to as well. But G2, against the ropes, to put it politely, they are really struggling. They are submerged, gasping for air, and NaVi, foot to the throat. Do have some nades to play with. A few smokes, couple of Molotovs.
Ooh, Flamey could step in front of that smoke if he wanted to. It appears a little too quick for him. Simple's found a headshot on Shox, who was just trying to spot. Wasn't even trying to necessarily commit, but that's beautiful. Lucky's gonna love that. Not that part. As Zeus gets a trade, that's when Flamey pounces on the lurk. A classic lurk. But I think Flamey has called that they're coming down mid, so NaVi should be aware. They know that at least one is gonna come down mid. Meanwhile, Body is trying to flush Flamey out, but they have just exchanged places, and Flamey now has the information. He can just go over to the B bomb site. It's a 1-on-3 here for Kenny, and he has to go. A kit is not an option. It's got to be a full 10-second defuse, so Kenny's got to find them all. That's going to be it. NaVi's going to take this Inferno against G2. It's going to be 16-7.
Yeah, Body shooting across there just gave NaVi all the information they needed. Sure, he's got the first kill. They're heavily tagged in the process. And there we have it. Edward puts the final nail in the coffin. And NaVi steamroll to a 1-0 win.
Not as much limping from NaVi as we might have thought, as perhaps G2 was hoping. They looked much more solid than I think a lot of people expected. Solid individual performances, 22 on Edward, 22 on Electronic. And NaVi is going to go 1-0, G2 falls to 0-1, and we're going to send it off to our friends at the desk.
Thank you so very much. Yes, that was Moses and Vince. They'll be casting much more for you across the next couple of games. Nice to crank up that volume so I can hear the dulcet tones of my own voice. This is another big win for NaVi. We had a doubter on the desk, in fact 2. To break it down, though, I do have none other than Pimp and Sponge. And it shows, once again, NaVi may be a bit discombobulated, may not have the atmosphere that they desire for trophy lifting, but managed to best G2 rather comfortably, Jacob.
Yeah, it was a comfortable win for NaVi. I think, once again, it's not necessarily NaVi playing too well. I think they just have the individuals to deal with G2. So far, what we've seen from G2 in the first stage of the major as well was that they were able to win Dust 2. They were able to play decent on Cash, and Overpass was all right as well.
Sure.
Inferno's not going to be one of the maps they're going to win at all against any of the teams in this tournament. What I saw right here was not good at all for G2, and I think NaVi, despite playing okay, it was not a win that gives me confidence in them going up against some of the better teams.
Well, look, for me, G2 on their T side is where they got the lion's share of their rounds, and that was through set pieces, right? So that's one thing that they had, strategically speaking, from an execute dry round point of view. G2 showed a lot more in this game than NaVi did. NaVi started out very dynamic on their CT side. It appears they've shifted Zeus over towards that B bomb site with Flamey. Simple was basically doing whatever he wanted in a lot of rounds. Yeah. He had that round where he pushed down to ult mid. Sure, he got taken down by a Glock, but it just feels like this is Simple's team and he can get away with whatever he wants. And that's, I wouldn't have it any other way, to be completely honest with you. And you have to remember as well, in that first half, a lot of the rounds were very close, Alex. Kenny had to win 2 1vx situations. I think they're both 1v2s, actually.
Yeah, he was truly a hero in getting some more rounds on the board for G2, but it was indeed Simple and co. Edward alongside him at the top of the scoreboard. We're going to check in with Simple now. Frankie is in the player floor.
Yes, now, Simple, it was a signature aggressive NaVi performance. Do you think that G2 put up a good fight?
Not really, actually. I don't know, we just prepared really well for them. And yeah, we were ready for this game.
You say you prepared really well, but the rumor is you guys didn't boot camp.
We couldn't do boot camp because of some stuff and because of because of a lot of things, yeah, but we still had a really good practice online. It doesn't matter what people are gonna say, we're still upgrading our map pool and our game every day.
What are people saying?
I don't know what people saying. People say always something random, I don't know. They have some ideas what to do with team, they know better than us, I guess.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to find out for you later this week, Simple. The thing for me is, though, it's surprising you didn't boot camp because you guys have never won a major. How confident do you feel after that performance?
I think all of us have more experience right now, and we're just going to be more prepared for more important games.
More important games indeed. Okay, I'll let you guys pack up, and we might see you on this stage later today, Simple.
Yeah, of course.
Let's head back to the desk.
Frankie digging for answers there, and she certainly gets some. An intriguing reaction just from Simple, noting that he is well aware of where the community rumor mill has taken NaVi and put them in their sights. Whether or not that's true, well, the gameplay will do a lot of the talking for us. But let's get our closing thoughts here. Both teams are ones that players don't necessarily rate too highly, as we saw from the players' ranking. What do we reckon here then? NaVi picking up 1 win. You don't seem convinced just yet for what's to come.
At the very least, NaVi will be part of the next major. I think that's the conclusion we make now. G2 obviously, again, not looking too solid, but they may just be slow starters in a tournament like this, and the level may be a little bit too high. I think NaVi, all right, you got the first win. They can play with no pressure now, so I'm not ruling them out. All I'm saying is that when they face a team like Liquid or Astralis, we're going to see the true face of NaVi.
Yeah, a true test, as they have already managed to best G2. We're going to take a break. NRG NiP is going to be coming up after it. We'll see if they can continue to be undefeated or if the Ninjas will have something to say about it.